May 18th, 2019, I lost a piece of my soul and a piece of my identity. This was a day that I knew was to come. The date had been set out for a long time. However, when it did happen, it nonetheless tasted bitter and solemn. This was the day that I lost the sport of soccer. So soccer began for me when I was about 3 or 4 years old. I don't really remember much of how I played or what games I was playing or who I played with, but what I do remember are the feelings of enjoyment that I had. Soccer for me back then was so important because of all the friendships it created and the enjoyment that I got from competing in just a game. I never realized how important it would become to be over my life and how much it would change me. So throughout the years, I continued to play. I played a lot. I was playing year-rounds, and it consumed all of my time. But I never regretted it. With all the times that I traveled around the nation, in different parts of the world, I'll never forget the time that soccer brought me to the country of Brazil. This was a vacation. This was a trip that I thought was going to be a simple vacation that I would enjoy and maybe a chance to play against some good players in Brazil. But it was so much more. This is where soccer taught me the most important life lesson that I had ever been taught. One of the teams that we were playing against in Brazil was from a small town, a mountain town, right outside of Rio called Três Rios. It's a very, very poor town, and all of the players didn't have $10 to their name, clean clothes to wear all the time, or even food. But all of these kids seemed to be the happiest people that I had ever met. It seemed impossible that these people that had next to nothing could be so happy all the time. And it was easy to see that when they were on the soccer field. Nothing else mattered for them. All the darkness, all the negativity that surrounded their lives was non-existent when they stepped on that field. Soccer for them shone as a beacon of happiness. And soon I realized that it was the same for me and the same for everyone else that played it. It was so much more than just a competition of kicking a ball through 2 goalposts. It really was the meaning of life for some people. So I continued to play soccer after Brazil, and I knew that my end of this game was coming quickly. May 18th rolls around, and the day started like any other than the knowledge of the impending end with my relationship with soccer. The game, my final game, was at 7 o'clock at night, and the result was a win. I mean, we won our second state title in 2 years, but none of that mattered to me. Right now, when I think back on it, I barely remember the details of the game. All I remember is the emotion. I remember the atmosphere of the crowd after we won, during the game, the cheering, the roaring, the feelings that I had inside of me that I don't think would ever be rivaled. I remember the happiness that was generated on all of my teammates' faces, my family, my friends. But most importantly, I remember the shock that I felt that it was all over. I laid there on the ground after the game, and bitterness started arising within me. I was angry. I was angry at time. I was angry at everything in the world that I couldn't play soccer anymore. But that's when I realized soccer taught me the second most important lesson I had. That was appreciation. It wasn't to mourn the loss of soccer, but rather to appreciate all the friendships, the lessons, and the thrills that I experienced. No matter the devastation of the death that I felt, it taught me that the loss of something loved should be celebrated rather than mourned. And for that, I'm grateful.